So here we are here, bringing us to giants, okay? I've just chosen something again to go over with you, but look at the size going from 18 feet, 6 feet. You see what I'm saying? And we have the Serpent Mound in Ohio. There was a 7-foot giant. The Cresap Mound in West Virginia, a 7-foot 2 giant. Now, there are mounds in China which have never been opened, which probably have evidence of larger peoples. These were worldwide. Okay, these civilizations, and they've come and gone, and they're in the dirt. I heard a really sad story where there was a gentleman digging a well on his farm. I think it was in Ohio, and he came across a giant, and the femur was huge, and he was like, "This is a person." He dug it out. It was a giant human skeleton, and I'll never forget. He was like, "I thought I was doing the right thing," and he called the authorities or the museum or whatever. And overnight, his giant skeleton was taken. They took it from him. And this has been going on for a long time because they want to hide these things, right? They would have to explain so much more. Their whole agenda would unravel. It already is, but let's just continue. So if you see all this, there's been many places in North America, but they're found all over. They're found in England. They're found everywhere. But we're just going to go over this. This is just a map here, where map of reports in North America of these giants being found or evidence of them. This explains megalithic structures. Okay? Because they had a civilization where they were a lot bigger. There's some newspaper articles here. I just want to get to, because this does go back to indigenous legends, okay? So these are the serpent mounds. The Great Serpent Mound is a long prehistoric effigy mound located near Peebles that has been thoroughly researched, okay? And who has written extensively about its mysteries and the giants discovered in the area. This puts it in the realm of the Adena civilization, who were present in this area at the time. In the 1980s, Professor Frederick Ward Putnam excavated some of the mounds next to the Serpent Mound and only found 6-foot-tall skeletons. But a postcard showing one 7-foot in height was recently rediscovered by researcher Jeffrey Wilson. It may have been one of those excavated by Putnam, as he was the only person to dig the site. So, okay, this noise. Hold on. Okay, so I'd like to go a little bit faster. This is already 21 minutes long. There was a big giant truck. So the legs were cut off at the knees, okay, here. So it's 7 foot what we actually see, but had it had its lower legs attached, it could have been 8 feet or more. Okay? So there's lots of evidence out there of this. Now, some are forgeries, some are computer graphic fakeries, but some are not. And it goes back a long time that this has been reported. Here's one of the mounds. Okay? Very, very large people. We've seen this one. This would be the size of the Anunnaki. This would be about how big they are. Okay? We're going to switch over here. So as you can see, even just in this picture here, how big they are. I'm going to try to find that one example where it shows them. Well, it's right here, where they're much bigger and then smaller people. But they were known to be giants. It even says that they look like us. They were just bigger than us. Here is the picture that is them. bigger people, and the higher dimensionals and lower dimensionals. Hold on, I gotta get a little lower here. See, he's in the ground. Lower dimensionals, higher dimensionals, right? The giants, beings of the water, beings of the air, and all that. They're expressing it here with picture. But the one I'm looking for is the one, well, here's the fish people, people of the sea, people of the air. But see, the interdimensionals would have been contacted too. Like I was saying, you could use sound rate resonance, open natural portals, and just walk right through. Here it is, where they're clearly expressed larger. Whoops. Oh, dang it. Clearly expressed larger here. Okay? So, over here, this is that translated book of... Oops, I forgot to... Now we're in the tab. So this is the translated Russian book of alien races, where it says here, they resemble humans but are higher, 8 feet, and more muscular. Okay? So this is what we're talking about when we have something like this. Okay? Now, a lot of what happens is we do have to have interbreeding for these things to come around, for evolution to kind of have a, I guess, a step up or whatever. We do interbreed and create new things this way. It doesn't always work out the best, but I mean, this is in the Smithsonian Institution, so that is a big reason why we don't know about these things, because they've covered it up. San Diego Giant was purchased by the Smithsonian for $500 for $14,000 in today's money in 1895. Though later claimed it was a hoax. I don't think so. I don't think so. I think there's been a lot of things. There was a mermaid found as well. There were really big peoples. There were even peoples back in the day when we had, Tartaria and flying cars and electric cars and all that. There were big people back then. Like I said, there's so many videos out there. But there was more that I wanted to share with you here. If we go a couple further, oh, there it is right there. Here. So it says this race was very influential in some South and Central American cultures. Okay? But these are giants. All right? At one time, they had over 2,000 members living amongst humans in those regions. So when we have these things where you can see that there were large steps and small steps, big doors and smaller doors, this is where we live together as one. And also there were other interdimensional beings that lived with us too at one time. There have been many cycles that have come and gone. Many civilizations that have come and gone. So, and again, you got to take this with a grain of salt, because I just don't believe that they are aliens, because they were trying, even with the Russians, they were trying to document what they were seeing and encountering and trying to do their best documenting these unknown races. But it doesn't mean alien as in from other planets necessarily. They can be from other dimensions, as we've gone over in the video that is released today on August 8th, 2025, and then this one will be the next after that. So if you've watched that, it doesn't mean alien. I've confused myself. But anyway, listen. So one of them were as tall as 4 meters high, 13 feet. Okay, but this is what we're talking about, where the native populations were, battling these giants. Some of them were probably not all that dangerous, but unfortunately, due to power struggles and all of that, a lot of them, some of them died of natural causes and were honored as such in these mounds and whatever, but, it doesn't usually work out so well for the ones who go before and the new, yeah, it just doesn't work out. We know this. But let's see, have I gone over it all? Because I feel like this was already too long. We talked about the Anunnaki, the giants, how tall Adam was, going back, the human face, evolution. Yeah, that, this just keeps going in cycles over and over again, where the peoples will encounter this technology. They will make contact with other civilizations that have also. Hold on. The truck is finally gone. So here we are, everybody, giant footprints. I told you I would bring you here, and here we are. Giant footprints, okay? This one, I believe, is in South Africa. And this fella, I believe, is Robert M. Snoosh, South Africa footprint, okay? This is a giant human fossilized footprint. You can click it. Now, some of them will have 6 toes. And that is because they needed more support because of their size. Okay? You will find that. This one here is from China. Okay? Here it is here. Here it looks like there is an extra toe. It could be just a slip of the same thing. But if you do see something like that, it would be because of the size and it needed to support their giant size. An extra toe. So there's quite a few of them. Here's someone here. Giant footprint discovered in stone. I mean, there's even giants in Britain, England, all over Europe. They're everywhere. And this is why. Because, again, it was a civilization. Now, I could go further. There's even been giant megalithic structures in Russia. Big ones. But let's just... What was this? Robert. Okay. And he was featured in my earlier video. So, it's almost like it was mud at one time, or soft enough, that it was able to have the... See, it says sometimes a powdered form of the rock could form a wet, slushy mixture that would congeal and harden as a type of cement. Tellinger hypothesized that a giant in ancient times was carrying out mining operations in the granite, stepped into wet, pulverized granite slurry, some type of powdered granite, and later the granite slurry dried, reconstructed itself, and preserved the impression of the footprint. He noted that at the top of the footprint you could even detect the mud that oozed between the toes and was pushed up by the foot of the giant. This presumably happened in very ancient times. No, not a couple 100,000 years ago, we're talking millions. And since then, through various geological processes, the original footprint which would have been horizontal, was uplifted and tilted to its current vertical position. Okay? Yeah. So that's just one example there, but there's tons of evidence that you can look through where many researchers have gone over this go over here. Oh, what happened? Oh, well, unfortunately, that did not take me. Oh, here we go. Yeah. So it's kind of controversial because, of course, people don't really understand. But to me, the evidence is clear. Like these giant footprints here to be around 200 million years old. So, I mean, we've seen over here that this was with dinosaurs at 110 million. Okay, they're smaller. But again, there were different versions of peoples. Even like the Neanderthals and all of this, they were smaller. There's different examples even that we can see that they do talk about throughout our history. But it's just a lot longer and many, many, many cycles, you know? So I think I'm done with this for now. I encourage you to go and look at all of this stuff yourself. Go research. I'll try to find some documentaries about it. There are some really good ones. A third footprint was discovered in Bolivia, but CNN reported that the print was from a large carnivorous dinosaur rather than an ancient giant. Prior to that, another massive footprint was found in New Mexico by Jerry McDonald in 1987, which measured 100 centimeters in length and was said to be 290 million years old. So, I mean, we're talking a really, 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 really long time. And I mean, they went from one-eyed giants to two-eyed giants, and the three-eyed giants, and the third eye went into the head like we have now with our pineal gland. I mean, but this took a really, really, really long time. You know? But, yeah. If you didn't know these things, I hope. Okay, so it says here, these claims, okay, can be hold no way, blah, 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 blah. With academic research, of course, they don't agree because they're so stuck on the way that the story that they've told. Also, okay, the giant footprint in Pyongyang is said to have been fossilized in solid granite, a material that does not lend itself to capturing any type of print. But again, like we explained earlier with that sediment, or like if they had a quarry or whatever and they were doing work, then this would be possible. So also the rock is most likely closer to 3.1 billion years old as opposed to 200 million. So like when you hear about these extraterrestrial races being this old, I mean, it's maybe just because we weren't aware that there were people, that they were people just like us, our ancestors. Maybe this is why they say, oh, we're just like you. We come from your past. We come from your future, or whatever. It's a play on words for some of them, but it says, could these footprints have come from ancient giant humans, possibly even our ancestors? Yes, I believe yes. And it's changed over a really long time. And again, just let me just pause one more time. I want to show you something. Okay, so this is what I was talking about. It's called Baalbek. Okay, look at this. One sec. Larger than Baalbek, huge megaliths found in Russia defy explanation. This was April 21st, 2025. Okay. Researchers state that from the scale depicted by the human figures, these megaliths are much larger, as much as 2 to 3 times larger than the largest known megaliths in the world. Preliminary studies suggest that there are blocks of stone at Gornaya Shoria, which weigh around 3 to 4,000 tons. Okay, these are the most impressive on planet Earth. They are beyond fascinating to defy our understanding of ancient civilizations and their capabilities. So in 2014, enormous megaliths were found near the 2,000-year-old temple to Jupiter in Baalbek, Lebanon. One of these megaliths weighs 1,650 tons and is 64 feet long. It is now considered the largest megalithic block carved by human hands in the world. On the other hand, the megaliths at Gornaya Sharia could have been possibly created by natural geological processes, according to some scientists. Okay. So it talks about the Phoenicians. Like, this is all connected to stuff that I have heard before, but I think they may just leave some stuff out conveniently, you know. But this was the most impressive. Look at, that's a person right there. And this is the size of the blocks. I'm not sure how that would be. There's more too. A lot more. Maybe I'm just going to have to make this into a separate video, because I would like to show you a short clip of where there's a fella, Victor so-and-so. Just a moment, and I will show you that. Alright, so I found where we are headed. So with this in Russia, again, there is the Kara Hora shaft, okay? Prehistoric underground megastructure found in Russia. Kara Hora shaft, okay? Now, I'm not going to play this. I'm going to have to mute the sound. But I will kind of take you through just a little bit. It's pretty incredible. It goes down into the underground. This fella found it. And it looks a little bit like this underneath. This could have been one, because it says there's not much room for people. So again, this might have been something as a ancient energy device. We're going to look at some different... Oh, that's the ancient gallery, or the gallery in Egypt. So they're comparing the similarities of the walls and the flattened surfaces and such. So this is a very good video. Again, it will be down below. This is the Pyramid of Khufu again. I was talking about how they were power plants. And so there's other things. There's over here, you can see prehistoric megastructures in China and unexcavated pyramids. This is what I was talking about with the mounds and such. So let's see. Let me see if I can see something over here. Here's the one of the fellas. Oh, here it is. It could have been some kind of plant, part of an advanced ancient factory, yes, or some kind of resonator, yes. And we dealt with this. We had bells, we had, you can use water, you can use liquid mercury. There's a whole bunch of different things, and I can't say exactly what it was used for or what they were using with this, but I agree that it looks like some type of underground aether type or free energy, however you would like to refer to it as, type of device that... Can I get... Oh, just want to... This is the fella here. Oh, I can't... Can you see him? Oh. Here he is here. This is the person, Arthur sorry, whatever this is. Discovered it by pure luck or accident. had been searching for it for many years. So there's a bit of a documentary about this. Okay, right. And so here again, the Germans were here. All right, but as I told you about the swastika, look, here's the symbol. This is at the site. There's symbol like this. And this is to symbolize the four directions or the four worlds. Right here. So again, here is how straight everything is. Cut megalithic blocks. And there's different sections of it. Again, here's the shaft. The Karahora shaft. It's not proof of Atlantis. It's not. It's proof of the Atlantean age, like I was saying before. And this was worldwide. And it was antediluvian. It was pre-flood. And there were a whole bunch of different races living together in different places, like you have in, for example, like I think they say this about with ancient aliens, with Machu Picchu and things like this, where you have very high up altitude and different depictions of different beings. So this is what we have with this. I'm just going to see if there's anything else. Like I said, it has similarities with the pyramids in Egypt, and that they were power plants, I believe, as well for Aether. Some people think they were weapons. I disagree. I mean, they may have been transformed into that eventually. But yeah, this is a pretty incredible find. Let me see. Oh, I wasn't sharing the tab. Dang it. Really sorry. So let me see. I'm really sorry about that. I didn't notice. Here, I'm going to have to edit that. So here is the four directions symbol. So where I had stopped, we were looking at the swastika from the Nazis and the Germans that had visited this site. But here is the symbol of the four directions, which I read to you about the swastika and the different meaning of it in ancient times. And it had to do with the four worlds and these interdimensionals, higher and lower, and human beings as they were all living together in one age. And this was the Antediluvian age, which was the age I was reincarnated from. So I showed that picture. I showed here where you can see the lines. And yeah, proof of Atlantis. No, it's not Atlantis. It's the Atlantean age as I know it, or as most people would know it, it's called the Antediluvian or a Antediluvian civilization before the last known flood, okay? But there have been many cycles that have come and gone, and they all had different endings. Kind of like chaos theory, that the same thing will occur, but just not exactly in the same way or the same exact way, okay? So it happens in cycles like this. And we looked at this picture here, which is the shaft. You can watch this video, like I was saying, the universe inside you is a good channel to watch a lot. This is where I watched it. So yeah, we have this here, which is extraordinarily well cut, put together here, and so if you watch the video, the man explains that, there's not much room for human beings because it wasn't meant for that. This is the plan of it, how it looks like underground. Now, we got to that. I hope I was recording. Like it was some type of power plant or an ancient factory. It could have been some type of, could have been some kind of plant, a part of an advanced ancient factory, or some type of kind of resonator. Yes, in this chamber here. Now, there's probably not everything left over. Some of the components may be missing, or lost to time, or, earthquakes and seismic events would, again, here's a better look at the cut of the shaft. So I would definitely say that's not natural. When that's underground, and of course it would have been from long ago. But this was worldwide. I mean, it was even in the territory that is now known as Russia. You see what I'm saying? But of course, the Tartaria and such had continued on, and they used these sound technologies just differently. It evolved. It got smaller and compact, which is seen in the fireplaces with the Aether in my last video. I think this is probably going to be a second video, like a part 2 to the ancient civilizations and their technologies and their cycles in history, I believe. It's just gotten far too long, but it does all connect together, which I'm happy to see. There's the symbol of the 4 worlds that is at this site. Again, you can watch the video. It's called The Prehistoric Underground Megastructure Found in Russia, the Kara Shaft. I should press like, I forgot to do that. And it is pretty good, and there's quite a few videos on this channel that goes through. Again, here's the Germans. I'm going to turn off the captions, sorry. Here's the Germans expressing they were there and were looking for something. But again, it's this same technology that they discovered, in Nazi Germany, with the Vril and the Thule Society and such. So you can see how smooth the walls are. And yes, I know this happens with water and erosion in time and such, but it is just incredible. There's a lot of dolmens in this area as well. So it's pretty fascinating, and I would encourage you to watch that. Prehistoric megastructures in China and unexcavated pyramids. Yeah, I'll put a bunch of links below where you can do your own education on the topic. But it's really interesting, when you go back and you see these things and realize, that, well, we really have been bamboozled, So this is what I have for you today. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope that it makes our ancestors proud and the ancients proud, because I get why they're saying they're aliens. We don't even listen to our own people. So, and I would think that if we knew for sure that they came from millions of years ago, like with the dinosaurs, we would assume they were like cavemen, but clearly they are not. They've discovered ancient technologies, and these technologies have been rediscovered over and over and over again. I'm just reviewing what we've looked at for you to, to view. So, yeah. You can even tell here with these skeletons here that the cranial size changes, the shape. There's been a lot of different versions of us. And, there's been different mass endings of certain groups of peoples, and the continuations of others and all of that. So we got 12-foot skeletons. So there was a giant skeleton dug up in 1819. Soldiers at Parisma on Lompoc Rancho, the natives deemed it a god, and it was reburied. I've heard that story before. 18-foot skeleton. Oh, there's gigantic armor and swords found in places like China and Japan. They exhumed an enormous helmet of iron, which was corroded with rust. Further digging brought in to light a sword which measured 9 feet in length. So we've also seen these very large, well, they weren't decorations, they were for these big people. A well-preserved skeleton of an enormous giant. The bones of the skeleton are remarkably white. The teeth are all in place, as all of them are double and of extraordinary size. Yeah. So you probably have double rows of teeth, one eye, you'd probably, you have to realize that the environment that they lived in, they were probably wrestling the T-Rex. You know what I'm saying? So they had to be pretty brute themselves. They probably looked pretty scary, and maybe this is where the legend of the scary giants come from, because they come from a pretty scary ass time, you know? And that's just how you would survive. You would need to be able to go against, the big creatures that you're also living with, or you would go completely extinct, right? So there are many legends of it, Like I was talking about, the indigenous peoples talked about this all over. Eyewitness accounts of live giants were reported by English and Spanish explorers, and some of the early presidents. Mystics such as Edgar Cayce, Rudolf Steiner, Madame Blavatsky, as well as the Rosicrucians, are all regarded as giants. Well, you know what? That made me think, and I don't know, there was some big people, like I said. You can even see black and white pictures where they're all dressed in like Victorian. They're huge women and huge men. But listen, when I met, and I knew nothing about this. When I met Gene Simmons back in the day, I didn't even know who he was. But when that man stood up, I said, holy jeez, I said, you're the biggest man I ever seen. What, you got giant in your blood? And I think he may. Because he laughed so hard with me. He was the biggest man I've ever seen, Gene Simmons. And maybe this goes back to these bloodlines like this, for real. Anyway, I've had enough today. That's pretty crazy, but it's the truth. This turned out to be an hour, so it will be a separate video, but we could do more, and we could do longer, and I could show you more stuff and more examples, but I will post everything below so you could watch it and learn for yourself. But yeah, maybe that's why you thought that was so funny, because it was partially true. Who knows? And that these different bloodlines are still around, and they've just changed a little bit, but they're still here. And there might be some of them out there, like the Anunnaki. Like I said, they could be giants. They found the technology. They've left. I didn't get to this part, but this is why they're all about these there. Oh, dang it. We'll go through one more part. Just give me 1 second here, because we're going to go through these asteroids. All right. Last thing, really quickly. This kind of all started for me the other day when I watched this video called Everything We Know About 31 Atlas and the new Mahu, these giant rocks flying through space. Now, you could, depending on what the composition of the stone is, you could levitate it all the way off the planet, let's say, and you could fly around in a giant rock. Okay, I'm going to add that part. There's also been paintings where back in the ancient Indian Hindu times, ancient India, that there are pictures of people flying around on stones. This is because they could use levitation in different ways, and it doesn't matter if it's a stone or whatever, okay? So if the Anunnaki are traveling in something large enough to be a planet or whatever, they could very well have been traveling around in one of these big ass rocks. Okay? I just wanted to throw that out there and say that it is definitely possible. And if you look at this, it just in this picture, this I'm circling it, the everything we know about Mahu Mahu or whatever it's called. It kind of looks the shape of an interstellar craft, but just a giant rock. And I mean, you would have protection on the outside, blah 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 blah. But I'm running out of time for this recording because I only have an hour, so I really have to go. But I hope you've enjoyed this presentation. I will continue more of it if you'd like to hear more. But again, I encourage you to do all your own research, which is posted below. If you give me, like and a share and all of that, I greatly appreciate it. So my content could get out there. Thank you very much. And I really appreciate you watching this. And have a good day, everybody. Take care. Bye. Hello again. I am quite pleased with myself. I found hi Marvin. Marvin says hi. I found not the video, unfortunately, but I did find the experiment that I was talking about with the piranhas. Although I did not know that it would circle around and connect to the human footprints and the dinosaur tracks going along side by side. So, as you can see on the screen, this is Dr. Carl Bach. It's titled on rejuvenation because this is a hypobaric chamber or a biosphere, okay? And he deals with the pre-flood environment. And like I discussed with you earlier, making the conditions the same as they were in prehistoric times long ago, he created giant piranha. So it says here, director of the Creation Evidence Museum in Glen Rose, Texas. That was the same place. Here, I'll just take you over there for a second. As we were here with the human and dinosaur footprints discovered together. This was at the Texas Parks and Wildlife Department, but it is at near Glen Rose, Texas again. So it's connected. If you remember, when I was about 10 years old, I used to call this future connections. I've mentioned that. Oh, I need to go back where I was. Where am I? Here we go. I called it future connections. I didn't know what that meant, but I do now. Making all the connections in the future of, what my past life and everything like that about the Antediluvian age. Okay, so let's just read this. In Glen Rose, Texas, right. Dr. Carl Bog has invented and patented a hyperbaric chamber, a hyperbaric biosphere chamber to test biblical claims regarding the pre-flood atmosphere and magnetic connections based on Genesis. Genesis states that life on Earth was created perfect and designed to live forever. It also states that after the fall of man, all elements of which everything is made were cursed. Genesis then records a gradual degeneration of the whole creation until the flood of Noah, followed by an increasing rate of degeneration as time progressed. Yes. If the dates and years reported use the same standards we do in modern times, then there is an overlapping of pre-flood humans with that of post-flood survivors, where pre-flood humans lived many more years. The average age of man prior to the flood was approximately 920 years. After the flood, man's lifespan declined by 250 years until the time of Christ, when lifespans averaged 70 years. Tests indicate simulation of pre-flood environment would produce conditions of increased longevity, cellular growth, and change in molecular structures. Dr. Boggs' experiments with his special hypobaric biosphere have produced fascinating results that indicate potential methods to heal and or rejuvenate people today. NASA has even requested Dr. Boggs' research and discoveries to determine their applicability to the space program. That's him, that's that fellow there that I was talking about. The hyperbaric biosphere. Experiments carried out in this pre-flood atmospheric chamber have produced amazing evidence supporting the biblical record of the pre-flood world or antediluvian world. Some examples include extended lifespan of Drosophila fruit flies up to 3 generations, molecular change of venom in copperhead snakes to a non-toxic state, and this is what I was telling you about earlier, accelerated growth of piranha fish from 2 inches to 16 inches over a 2.5 years period. The hyperbaric biosphere patent allows for the ability to vary the mix of gases comprising the atmosphere in the chamber, as well as to vary the electromagnetic field intensity, frequency, and duration. Dr. Bogg has an unidentified associate handle deadly copperhead snakes used in an experiment to test whether increased oxygen levels, as would be experienced in pre-flood conditions, might alter the physiology of the snakes. He contends an artificial pre-flood environment could be duplicated with increased oxygen, higher pressure, and the use of electromagnetic fields. Another investigation at the Creation Evidence Museum, the gnarled spaghetti-like formation of copperhead snake venom as seen under the scanning electron microscope before the copperhead snake was housed in the small hyperbaric chamber. After 4 weeks in the hyperbaric chamber, venom from the same copperhead snake shows much less distorted structure, less gnarled. Let's take a look at it again. Before and after, I suppose. Okay. Sorry about that, I lost my spot. Less gnarled, indicating a lowering of to the toxicity level. Conditions in the hyperbaric chamber are seeking to provide the type of environment that existed in the time prior to the Great Flood. Additional information that may be of use. It has been estimated by researchers at the University of Illinois that the atmospheric pressures in the earliest beginnings of life on Earth that could have been as much as 29.4 pounds per square inch, twice the current sea level pressure, 14.7 psi at sea level. Oxygen content would have been about 30% instead of 21% we experience today. An open wound would heal overnight under these conditions. This atmospheric condition would support human life lasting several hundred years. A related post discussion link. Okay. Okay, so yes, there was more. Okay, the following unconfirmed information. I read another article about this. I forgot to bring it up. I may have to pause and find it. We'll have to see. And information about rejuvenation effects noted by aquanauts living underwater for a period of 30 days or greater. Hi everyone. A friend of mine who worked for the NSA related an experiment that was conducted by NASA. 3 scientists lived on the ocean floor for about 1 to 3 months in a biosphere. When they left, they were all middle-aged with graying hair and low libidos. When they returned, their hair was clear of gray, their wrinkles had started to disappear, and their sex drive was so increased their wives complained to NASA about it. It turns out that certain glands and organs were reactivated. One in particular was the gland that lies over the top of the heart. Blood tests show unusual hormones that are normally associated with the growth of young children. If you check the Creation Research Center and look up the URL for the Creation Research Institute, you can find the geologist who recreated the atmosphere of the flood in a container. I haven't checked for his name yet, been behind on my page and other projects, but I'm having a pastor friend look into it for me. What if we take this knowledge and build a room that emulates the atmosphere of Earth before the flood and sleep in it for 8 hours a day? What effects might it have? My friend from the NSA said that for every day spent there, 1 year was added onto your life until you maxed out at 1,000. Well, that's pretty interesting, isn't it? And this is how they could be rejuvenating themselves and such. Certain peoples, whatnot. We've heard about underwater research facilities and all this, so that's interesting, isn't it? So there's another article over here. It's called Hyperbaric Research in the Pre-Flood Atmosphere. Creationists have long speculated about Earth's environment prior to the global flood, conditions which may have contributed to long human lifespans recorded in the biblical record of Genesis. Specifically, it has been hypothesized by some that the pre-flood atmosphere had higher levels of oxygen and a greater atmospheric pressure than we currently observe, which I agree with. Now, a new study from the Tel Aviv University and Shamir Medical Center in Israel has shown that hyperbaric oxygen treatments in normal healthy adults can halt and even reverse the aging process of blood cells. Aging is characterized by the progressive breakdown of cellular function and bodily systems over the life of the individual, eventually resulting in death. At the cellular level, scientists who study aging and longevity have focused on two key features of the aging process. The first is telomere length, which shortens as organisms and their cells age. Telomeres are the end caps of chromosomes that keep them intact and also interact with various parts of the cellular system. The other key feature studied in cellular senescence, which refers to a physiological condition cells reach when they quit proliferating and become resistant to growth-promoting stimuli. Lifestyle habits that include exercise, diet, and supplements that target cell metabolism and oxidative stress appear to only produce relatively small effects, 2 to 5% on the telomere length. However, repeated hyperbaric oxygen therapy treatments have been found to induce regenerative effects in cell telomeres. Hyperbaric oxygen therapy is the use of a large pressurized chamber which increased air pressure and oxygen content into the patient is placed. The increased atmospheric pressure enhances the levels of oxygen dissolved into the bodily tissues. The aim of the current study was to evaluate whether hyperbaric oxygen therapy treatments had any effect upon the telomere length in cell senescence in normal, non-pathological, aging adult humans. Using test data from 30 different people, it was found that repeated daily hyperbaric oxygen sessions would increase telomere length by more than 20% in aging people. Of the cell types tested, B cells, a type of white blood cell, exhibited the most striking changes. This would be maybe for healing. The treatments also decrease the total number of sentient cells, senescent cells by 10 to 37%, with T helper cells, other types of white blood cells, being the most affected. Yeah, so you would rejuvenate. Based upon extensive geological mapping of global sedimentary strata, mega-sequences left behind after the flood, we know that the pre-flood world was radically different than the one we now live in. It was obvious that based on plant and animal life buried in the sedimentary strata of the flood, i.e. fossils, the pre-flood world was considerably more lush, diverse, and even allowed for many creatures to obtain extreme sizes, like I was saying before, even the trees. For example, some fossils of dragonflies have been measured with wingspans over 2 feet. I mentioned that earlier, but I said they were much bigger. 2 feet is still huge. The method by which oxygen is diffused through the insect's body is its tracheal breathing system, places an upper limit on body size based on our current atmospheric oxygen levels. Thus, even secular scientists who deny the biblical account of Earth's history believe that oxygen levels had to be much higher in the ancient past, which I also agree with. When we combine this new hyperbaric oxygen therapy with the known lifespans of the pre-flood patriarchs like Methuselah, who lived 969 years, it strengthens the position some creation scientists hold that the pre-flood atmosphere favored better health and longevity as a result of increased atmospheric pressure and oxygen levels. This factor could then be added in with other likely scenarios conferring longevity, such as the presence of more pristine, non-mutated condition of the human genome prior to the global flood. After the flood, we see a marked decay curve in the human lifespan, as recorded in the scriptures. So I thought there's this over here. You can see it. Remember I was talking about the portholes and everything like that? Over here. It's too bad we can't find, I really looked, I can't find the actual experiment video, but I will look more, and if I ever find it, I will bring it up. Maybe I'll look more, and who knows, we might be able to find it. Let's see, this unique chamber designed to emulate the conditions thought by some creationists to exist on the early Earth is housed at the Creation Evidence Museum in Glen Rose, Texas. It provides for double atmospheric pressure, enhanced oxygen, and special light filtration. Encircling coils attempt to make up for Earth's reduced magnetic field. Initial results from ongoing tests with fruit flies and other small organisms point to some dramatic differences in creatures living in this environment compared to a control group living just outside. For example, the lifespan of fruit flies had been tripled under these special conditions. A 62-foot hyperbaric biosphere is currently under construction at the Creation Evidence Museum. This controlled environment will actually have an anteroom such that attendees can enter, close the door, bring the first room up to pressure, and then enter the full chamber. Thus, organisms in the chamber will be afforded a stable environment over time, allowing for long-term experimentation. A small ecosystem of birds, plants, and other reptiles is planned. Perhaps further research might lead to not only improved models of the antediluvian Earth, but even some useful medical insights. It would certainly not be the first scientific breakthrough that resulted from studying the Word of God. Isn't that cool? How it's all connected. But yeah, I thought you would find that interesting. And again, if you remember this, I mean, we're talking that we found human and dinosaur footprints together 110 million years ago in the Cretaceous rock layers in a river rock bed of the Paluxy River near Glen Rose, Texas. Okay? So there. Oh, right. And then I have over here, I forgot about this, the mega piranha. So this is basically what they kind of look. I mean, not this big, but I'm telling you, this sucker, I remember how excited the scientist was. Like, look at the size of them, and they were just giant and gnarly looking, like they were prehistoric cave-like piranhas. So this is the mega piranha. And if you thought, I mean, they weren't 3 feet long, okay? But they grow to the size of the environment. So if they had a bigger tank, they would have grown bigger with the right conditions, right? It says, if you thought piranhas were scary, be glad Mega Piranha is no longer around. Mega Piranha was up to 3 feet long, 1 meter, a fish beast 4 times as big as piranhas living today. Study of its jawbones indicate it lived about 8 million to 10 million years ago and might have been quite comfortable stalking cartoon animals in an Ice Age movie. Another close relative of the piranha, called pacu, singular and plural, is not so scary. Pacu have squared off stumps for teeth used for munching veggies. For the record, tales of carnivorous piranhas eating humans are fictional. But yeah, you guys, it was gigantic. And it was really impressive, the experiment. So yeah, if I find it, it'll be added to this video. If not, it's unfortunate, but we've gone over all this. All the links will be below. and I very much hope that you've enjoyed this presentation today. I thank you very much for watching. Take care and have a good night. Oh, I recorded this on August 8th, 2025. It's 11:42 p.m. Good night, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.